The hollow sky. The first child to disappear was a 7-year-old girl named Maya Santos, and when they found her 3 days later standing perfectly still in a Kansas wheat field, her eyes had turned the color of liquid mercury, and she spoke in 17 languages she had never learned, including 3 that no human being had ever heard before. Dr. Elena Vasquez remembered that moment with crystalline clarity because she had been the one called to examine Maya, summoned from her radio telescope station in New Mexico by a government that had no idea what it was dealing with. The girl's pupils dilated in perfect geometric patterns, hexagonal shapes that pulsed with bioluminescence, and when Alina asked her what happened, Maya tilted her head at an inhuman angle and said, in a voice that seemed to echo from somewhere impossibly far away, "They're almost here. They wanted me to tell you they're grateful for all the waiting." Then Maya's eyes rolled back, she collapsed into Alina's arms, and when she woke 6 hours later, she remembered nothing, but the silver in her irises never faded. That was 18 months ago, 18 months before the sky cracked open above the Pacific Ocean and the first ships descended through clouds that had turned the color of infection. 18 months before Alina understood that Maya wasn't a victim of alien contact, she was a message, a warning, a countdown that humanity had been too stupid to understand. Now Alina stood on the 40th floor of a burning skyscraper in what used to be Singapore, watching through shattered windows as the Syrath dreadnoughts drifted silently between towers of steel and glass, their hulls reflecting the orange glow of a city in its death throes. The ships were beautiful in a way that made her stomach turn, organic and mechanical simultaneously, their surfaces rippling like the skin of something breathing, covered in patterns that shifted and changed as if the vessels themselves were thinking, dreaming, calculating the most efficient way to exterminate everything below. "We need to move," Colonel Marcus Webb growled, grabbing her arm. "The convergence point is compromised if we stay here." "They already know we're here," Alina said, her voice flat. "They've known since before we arrived. They know everything, Marcus. Every resistance cell, every underground bunker, every desperate plan we've cobbled together. Don't you understand yet? They let us fight. They let us believe we have a chance." The colonel's jaw tightened. He was a broad-shouldered man in his 50s, his face carved by decades of military service and more recently by grief. His daughter Sarah had been taken in the first wave during what the Syrath called the collection. 16 million people across 12 countries, simply lifted into the sky by beams of light that bent physics in ways Alina still couldn't explain. No one who was taken ever came back. No one except Marcus's daughter, who returned 3 months later with silver eyes and a smile that never reached them. That was when Marcus realized the thing wearing Sarah's face wasn't Sarah anymore. "I don't care what they know," he said, checking the magazine in his rifle, a weapon that both of them understood was about as useful against Syrath soldiers as a child's water gun. "We have the coordinates, we have the extraction point, and Kai says he can get us inside their central hub. That's more than anyone else has managed in the 6 months since the occupation." Alina wanted to laugh. The occupation, such a clinical word for the end of civilization. In 6 months, the Syrath had dismantled every government, every military, every organized resistance on the planet. They hadn't done it through overwhelming force, though they certainly possessed that capability. They had done it through something far more insidious: infiltration. The first ships hadn't come with weapons blazing. They had descended with elegant slowness, landed in major population centers, and opened their doors to reveal humanoid figures that radiated calm and benevolence. The Syrath ambassadors spoke every language fluently, understood human culture with unsettling precision, and offered gifts, cures for diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries, clean energy technology that made fossil fuels obsolete overnight, agricultural advances that could feed the hungry billions. World leaders welcomed them. The United Nations passed emergency resolutions granting them diplomatic status. Within weeks, humanity had opened its arms to its cosmic neighbors, and the Syrath smiled their beautiful, symmetrical smiles and said they had come in peace. They lied. Alina pressed her palm against the cracked window, feeling the heat from the fires below. The truth hadn't emerged until it was far too late. The cures the Syrath distributed weren't just medicine. They were markers, genetic tags that allowed the invaders to track every human who received them. The energy technology wasn't a gift, it was a surveillance network, feeding data about human infrastructure directly to the dreadnoughts in orbit. And the ambassadors, those elegant creatures with their silver-streaked hair and perfect features, were merely the pleasant face of something far darker. The true Syrath, the ones that emerged from the ships after the collection began, looked nothing like the ambassadors. They looked like nightmares given form. "Contact northwest corner." The shout came from across the ruined floor, where a young woman named Yuki Tanaka crouched behind an overturned desk, her eyes fixed on a motion sensor that had begun pulsing red. Multiple signatures, moving fast. Alina's blood turned to ice. How many? 8, no, 12. They're climbing the exterior. Marcus cursed and signaled to the 17 other resistance fighters scattered throughout the floor. They were all that remained of a group that had numbered over 200 when they left the Jakarta underground 3 days ago. The Syrath had ambushed them at the checkpoint near the old Merlian statue, emerging from the water itself as if the ocean had birthed them, their true forms unfolding in ways that defied human anatomy. Alina had watched friends she'd fought beside for months torn apart in seconds, their screams cut short by appendages that moved faster than the eye could track. "Everyone to the south stairwell," Marcus commanded. "We go up, not down. They expect us to run for the ground." "And then what?" demanded a voice from the shadows. Peter Grunwald stepped forward, his face twisted with fear and something uglier. He had been a banker before the invasion, and he had never fully adapted to the reality of their new world. "We're 40 floors up with no extraction plan and those things climbing toward us. Face it, Colonel, we're dead. We've been dead since the moment those ships appeared." Alina saw the tension ripple through the group. Morale had been fracturing for weeks, ever since they lost the Mumbai stronghold and the rumors started spreading about what the Syrath were really doing with the people they collected. There were whispers of massive structures being built in Antarctica, in the Sahara, in the remote steppes of Mongolia, places where millions of humans were being transported and never seen again. Some said they were being processed for food. Others claimed they were being harvested for genetic material. The most disturbing theory, the one Alina had come to believe, was that they were being transformed into something else entirely. "Nobody's dead until I say they're dead," Marcus replied. "Now move." The group began gathering their meager supplies, but Alina noticed that Peter had stopped, his eyes fixed on something beyond the window. His face had gone slack, his pupils dilating in a way that made her stomach drop. "They're so beautiful," he whispered. "Can't you see? They just want us to understand." Alina grabbed his shoulder and spun him around. His eyes had begun to silver at the edges, just a hint, a shimmer that wasn't there seconds ago. "Peter, look at me, stay with me. You were dosed, weren't you? In Jakarta, when they gassed the lower tunnels, you didn't report it." He smiled, and it was the same smile she had seen on Maya Santos's face 18 months ago. The same smile she had seen on Sarah Webb's face when Marcus realized his daughter was gone forever. "They showed me, Alina, they showed me what's coming, what we're going to become. It doesn't hurt, it's like waking up from a dream you didn't know you were having. All this time we thought we were complete. We thought we were the end result of evolution. But we're not. We're caterpillars, Alina, and they're here to help us become butterflies." Peter's hands shot out with inhuman speed and grabbed Yuki by the throat. In the split second before Marcus's bullet took him in the forehead, Alina saw Peter's jaw dislocate and begin to reform, his face stretching as something beneath the skin fought to emerge. Yuki fell to the floor, gasping as Peter's body collapsed. But even as they stared at his corpse, the skin continued to shift, to ripple, to change. "Move," Alina screamed. "Everyone move now." They ran for the stairwell, the sound of shattering glass behind them as the Syrath soldiers reached the windows and began pouring through. Alina didn't look back. She had learned long ago that looking back only gave the nightmares time to catch up. The stairwell was pitch black, lit only by the emergency glow strips that lined the walls every few floors. They climbed as fast as their exhausted bodies could manage, the sounds of pursuit echoing from below and, impossibly, from above as well. "They've got the roof," Yuki panted. "They're boxing us in." Marcus checked his tactical display, one of the few pieces of human technology that still functioned after the Syrath's electromagnetic pulses had fried most electronics worldwide. "Kai, tell me you've got something." The response came through the crackling earpiece, a young man's voice fighting through layers of static and interference. Kai Chen was 17 years old, a tech prodigy who had been hacking government databases before he hit puberty and who now served as the Resistance's most valuable asset. He had discovered entirely by accident that certain humans could interface with Syrath technology, could tap into their networks, their communications, their systems. No one understood why. The Syrath certainly hadn't expected it. "I've got good news and bad news," Kai said. "Good news, I've found a maintenance access point on floor 62 that leads to an external service elevator. The Syrath don't seem to have it on their maps. It was added during renovations last year and never properly documented. Bad news, the elevator goes to a sub-basement that connects to the old tunnel network, and something big has been using those tunnels. I'm reading massive heat signatures, Marcus. Whatever's down there, it's not human anymore." "We'll take our chances," Marcus replied. They reached floor 62 as the sounds of pursuit grew louder. The maintenance access was exactly where Kai had promised, a nondescript door hidden behind a collapsed section of ceiling tiles. Alina worked the manual release while Marcus and the others provided cover, firing into the stairwell to slow the Syrath advance. Their bullets did little against the creature's armored exoskeletons, but the muzzle flashes and noise seemed to confuse their targeting systems, buying precious seconds. The door opened onto a narrow corridor that smelled of machine oil and decay. They pushed through, sealing it behind them, and followed the passage to a service elevator that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Alina punched the call button without much hope, but to her shock, the elevator hummed to life and began descending toward them. "That shouldn't work," Yuki said. "The power grid's been down for weeks." "The Syrath restored partial function in several sectors," Kai's voice crackled. "They need infrastructure for whatever they're building, but be careful, if the elevator's working, they might be monitoring it." The car arrived with a soft chime. The doors slid open to reveal an empty compartment, its walls covered in strange symbols that glowed with faint bioluminescence. "Those markings," Alina breathed, "I've seen them before, in the messages we decoded from the first signals before anyone knew what they meant." "What did they say?" Marcus asked. Alina's throat tightened. "They said, 'Thank you for growing so well, we've missed you so much.'" They stepped into the elevator, the doors closed, and as the car began its descent into the darkness below the city, Alina felt the weight of 18 months of revelation pressing down on her like a physical force. The Syrath hadn't come from some distant star. They hadn't discovered humanity by chance or detected radio signals from across the galaxy. The evidence Kai had uncovered 3 weeks ago had shattered everything Alina thought she knew about human history. Cave paintings dating back 40,000 years, hidden in chambers that no modern human had ever entered, depicting the Syrath in perfect detail. Genetic markers in human DNA that matched no known evolutionary lineage, markers that, according to Kai's analysis, had been deliberately inserted, deliberately engineered. Ancient texts describing the gardeners who planted the seeds of humanity and went away to wait for the harvest. Humanity wasn't humanity's own creation. They were a crop cultivated over millennia, and the Syrath had returned because the harvest was finally ready. The elevator shuddered and stopped. The doors opened onto absolute darkness, and from somewhere deep in that black void came a sound that made Alina's skin crawl, a rhythmic pulse like a massive heart beating in the belly of the earth, overlaid with something that might have been human voices, thousands of them, all speaking in perfect unison words that seemed to exist at the edge of comprehension. "Kai," Marcus whispered into his comm, "what are we looking at?" The response took several seconds, long enough for Alina to imagine the worst, to picture Kai's bunker overrun, his body transformed like Peter's had been. But then his voice came through, tight with fear and awe. "It's a conversion center, one of the big ones. I'm reading 300,000 biosignatures, mostly human, but they're changing, Marcus. Whatever the Syrath are doing to them, they're becoming something else, something that isn't human anymore, but isn't Syrath either. It's like they're creating a hybrid species, a new kind of life that combines both." Alina remembered Maya Santos. She remembered Sarah Webb. She understood now what the girl had meant when she spoke in those 17 languages, what Sarah meant when she smiled that empty smile. They're not killing us, Alina said. They never were. They're evolving us. Every human they take, every person they transform, they're building a new species. One that's loyal to them, engineered to serve them, but still human enough to inhabit our world. They're not replacing us, they're upgrading us. And what happens to those of us who resist? Yuki asked. A voice answered from the darkness, a voice that Alina recognized with a chill that went all the way to her bones. You become raw material. The lights came on, blinding after the darkness, revealing a cavern so vast that Alina couldn't see its walls. But she could see what filled it, towering organic structures that pulsed with sickly light, their surfaces covered with pods, thousands upon thousands of pods, each one containing a human form in some stage of transformation. Some were still recognizable. She could see faces frozen in expressions of terror or ecstasy or something in between. Others had progressed further, their bodies elongated, their features smoothing into something alien and beautiful and terrible. And standing at the center of the cavern, surrounded by silver-eyed guards who had once been resistance fighters, was Sarah Webb. "Hello, Father," she said. "I was hoping you'd come. There's something I need to show you." Marcus raised his rifle, his hands shaking for the first time since Alina had known him. "You're not my daughter." "No," Sarah agreed, "but I have her memories. I feel what she felt. And I know something that she always wanted you to understand, something she was too afraid to tell you while she was still herself." Sarah walked toward them, her movements fluid, graceful, inhuman. The guards made no move to stop her. Why would they? This was their sanctuary, their sacred place. The humans were already trapped. "Sarah loved you," she continued, "but she also pitied you, pitied your limited perception, your desperate clinging to a humanity that was always meant to be temporary. We are what you were always supposed to become. The Syrath didn't invade your planet. They came home. They seeded your world 100,000 years ago, engineered your species from their own genetic material, and gave you the gift of consciousness. Every war you fought, every civilization you've built, every love you felt, it was all preparation, all cultivation, all leading to this moment. The moment you harvest us like wheat," Alina spat. Sarah's smile widened. "The moment we invite you to transcend. Those who accept the gift become something glorious. Those who refuse." She gestured toward the towering structures, toward a section where the pods contained not human bodies but something worse, skeletal remains, drained husks, biological waste from failed transformations. The garden cannot flourish without fertilizer. Marcus moved faster than Alina thought possible, crossing the distance to Sarah in 2 strides and pressing the barrel of his rifle against her forehead. The guards didn't react. Sarah didn't flinch. "I don't care what you've become," Marcus growled. "I don't care what you've done. Somewhere in there, some piece of my daughter still exists, and if you think I'm going to let you turn me into one of those things, you don't know me at all." Sarah's silver eyes softened, and for a moment, just a moment, Alina thought she saw something human behind them. A flicker of the girl Sarah had once been, trapped inside the thing she had become. "You're right," Sarah whispered. "She's still here, and she's been fighting, Father. Fighting so hard every second, trying to warn you. That's why I brought you here. That's why I let you find this place." She reached up and gently pushed the rifle aside. "The Syrath think they control their hybrids. They think the transformation eliminates free will completely. But they're wrong. Some of us, the ones with strong enough connections to our human lives, we remember, we resist. And we've been working from the inside, sabotaging their operations, protecting resistant cells, feeding information to people like Kai." Marcus stared at her, hope and suspicion warring on his face. "You're saying you're on our side." "I'm saying that the part of me that's still Sarah wants to save you. And I'm saying that there's a way to do it, but it requires a sacrifice that you may not be willing to make." Sarah turned and walked toward the center of the cavern, where a massive crystalline structure rose from the floor like a frozen waterfall. It pulsed with the same rhythm Alina had heard earlier, the heartbeat of something vast and ancient and entirely alien. "This is the Nexus," Sarah explained. "Every conversion center on Earth is connected to it. Every hybrid draws their consciousness from it. If you destroy it, every transformed human will die, including me, including all the hybrids who have been fighting against the Syrath from within. But it will also send a shockwave through